Yeah.
I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won.
Yeah.
I hope my team they won.
Yeah. Man.
I hope my team they won. I hope my team they won.
Yeah.
I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with this hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
For sure.
You there, Brandon?
Cavil's inside the HBCU Sports Lab. And as you can see, I am not our esteemed dean, Dr. Cavil. I am Brandon King, and I am so privileged to be able to stand behind the big podium. And joining me is the incomparable expert in all things HBCU AD Drew. Again, welcome to episode 514 of the HBCU Sports Lab show and podcast, the show that covers the sporting HBCU diaspora, all things HBCU sports from institutions large and small, from the NAIA to the NCAA. We share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture and HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs and the business of HBCU sports. As we've already covered, I am in fact not Dr. Kenyatta Cavil. We are filming from our home studios and sending this signal live to our KCOH 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Fame. Ralph Cooper in the beautiful home of Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. Today's episode of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab is sponsored by THG Agency, LLC. THG Agency is a company that provides sporting and educational consulting and data analytics. Today's episode is going to be a great one, as we'll be discussing the latest in HBCU news. How you doing this afternoon, Mr. AD Drew?
I'm doing fine, and with that brief introduction that you gave me, that means I'm the, how they say it, king of everything but master of none.
Well, that's always a good thing to be. There's never anything wrong with that. So again, I'm happy to be
diverse.
Here.
They call it diverse.
There you go, versatile, if you will. Think
there
like,
you go.
Like the Tim Thomas of HBCU. Now, that's an old name for some of our younger fans. You're gonna have to go look him up. But
play all five positions.
That's right. Maybe look, if we have a little time, maybe we'll have time to sneak in a little bit of basketball talk. I know the finals is coming up, so if there's some time, maybe we can squeeze out a little bit of talk and predictions and whatnot. But let's go ahead and get rolling. We've got a great show here. Get into some news here. And this comes to us from HBCU Sports as Howard University mourns the death of legendary basketball coach A.B. Williamson. Couldn't talk here. The legendary Howard University men's coach A.B. Williamson, who led the program to multiple MEAC championships and was the school's most winningest coach, passed away this past weekend. He first assumed command of the Bison basketball program back in 1975, and where he remained at the helm for the next 15 seasons, winning back-to-back MEAC tournament titles in 1980 and 81. The 1981 club was actually the first from the conference to make the NCAA tournament. Williamson was named the MEAC Coach of the Year on 3 occasions, 1980, 1983, and 1987, and again remains the university's most winningest basketball coach, compiling a 228 win and 169 loss record. Uh, Current Howard basketball coach Kenneth Blakeney issued a heartfelt statement that was put out on the platform formerly known as Twitter, and we'll get into it a little bit because it was rather extensive. But in part, he says, one of the great honors for me during my time at Howard has been the relationship I formed with him. AB served as our captain of the day in 2022 and was on the floor alongside me as we accepted the 2023 MEAC Tournament trophy, bridging the gap between so many eras of Bison greats. We remember Coach Williamson as more than a coach, he was a builder of character and a pillar of our community. His legacy as the winningest coach in Howard's history is reflected in the countless lives that he touched and the enduring spirit of excellence he fostered. The MEAC and Howard Hall of Fame inductee said in a 2022 interview that he wanted to be remembered as a guy who learned and worked very hard. I had a good rapport with my student athletes, so it makes me feel good when they keep in touch. I did the best I could at all times. Despite a lack of resources, I have no regrets and I held my own. So rest in power to Coach A.B. Williamson and A.D. Drew. What are your thoughts on the passing of a Bison legend?
Well, anytime someone who is significant to your university passes, it is a tremendous loss, be it that they're a current member of the university or a former member of the university who's made major contributions in their tenure at your university. It's always heartfelt with the university. And since we're doing the morning portion of it, I also have a death that I wanted to report from Florida A&M University. Also, uh, Eddie Jackson, longtime sports information director at Florida A&M University, also passed away, and this would have been on Tuesday that Jackson passed away. A FAMU alum, Jackson came to Tallahassee from St. Petersburg, Florida in 1964. As a student, Jackson works for the FAMUN, and that's the student newspaper at Florida A&M University, and was the editor of the 1966 Rattler Yearbook. So a lot of people on this listen to this podcast weren't even thought about in 1966. But following his graduation in 1966, Jackson became the sports information director for athletics in 1966 at fresh out of school. Now, check this out. Fresh out of school in 1966, his football media guy was selected by the College Sports Communicators, then known as COSIDA, as the 8th best in the country. And, back in the day when all we had was print media, for your football media guide to be an award-winning media guide, and you fresh out of school, tells you the type of talent that this man had when it came to journalism and media. And of course, if you know your history, a famous coach by the name of Alonzo Jake Gaither was the coach when he began his tenure as sports information director. Also, a couple of the highlights of his career: in 1992, the FAMU Public Relations Office under Jackson's leadership received the Silver Medal Award for overall news and information programs from the Council for the Advancement and Support of Education, making FAMU second only to UCLA for having the best news and information program of all colleges and universities in the nation. Not HBCUs, everybody. Second only to UCLA. In 1998, then FAMU President Frederick F. Humphrey presented Jackson with the university's first presidential award and named him Employee of the Year. after FAMU had been selected as the Time Magazine and Princeton Review College of the Year in 1997. And Jackson would spend 39 years at Florida A&M University, serving multiple roles, including Director of Placement, Career Counseling, University Public Relations Director, and Vice President for University Relations before retiring in 2002. And of course, he was Sports Information Director. And he is one of the founder of the 220 Quarterback Club, which is one of the major fundraising organization for FAMU athletics. So with these two passings, one from Howard and one from Florida A&M University, Brandon, I think it's appropriate that we just take a moment of silence and give our thoughts and prayers to both families and both universities.
Absolutely. Right. We're starting to show off on a little bit of a somber note, but
let's get all that out the way, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let me, and I know you being a FAMU man, did you have any dealings with our dearly departed Mr. Jackson during your time there?
No, he was kind of. I really was not on that part of the campus, doing his tenure there. He was up in Lee Hall, and Lee Hall is that hall where all the admin offices, and as we as students, unless you was fussing about your money, you did not want to be over there in those administrative halls. At that
place you want to be.
Last place you want to be, because if you was over there and you was not on work study, then that means something was wrong.
Absolutely.
Y'all ain't got my money. Y'all done messed my classes up. Y'all trying to kick me out of school. Something wasn't going right for you if you was over there. and not like I ain't had all three of those happen to me at one point while I was at FAMU.
Yeah, I can relate. What you mean my registration ain't? Hold on now. What's going on? Why do I have a hold on my account? What's going on here?
Yeah. True story, Brandon. True story. My sophomore year, I got verified by FAFSA, which means you got to turn in all the tax documents and all that kind of stuff, right? It happens to everybody once during their career, right?
Absolutely.
Ask me when I finally got cleared and got my refund check.
Well, normally you do it in the summer. Let's see here, or let's see how far into the semester.
This is my first semester, semester sophomore year. So take a wild guess when I got my refund check.
Let's see. They didn't have fall break back then. Was it before Halloween? Or after Halloween?
No. After.
Thanksgiving?
I got it finals week, bro.
What?
December.
What?
Yes. I got my money in December. I had begged and borrowed from everybody to pay my rent up until then. Because I decided to be bold. I didn't want roommates that year. I decided I wanted to have an apartment by myself. If I would have known I wasn't gonna get my refund until and all my financial aid until finals week. I mean, it was a good Christmas for everybody. But
man, that is what. Why did they say it took
that's
so
why
long?
I went. That was the one semester I was in that building, but I wasn't over there to see him.
Man, yeah, we all got them type of stories. I don't have any quite that bad. Good Lord. Come on, FAFSA.
Yes,
you're better than that. At least we thought you were. Woo! Gotta love financial aid. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Let's move on. Let's see. Into our, I guess we can do this. We can go to break after we talk about a little bit of Grambling baseball here. Grambling season ends at Bryan College Station Regional. This comes to us from SWAC.org. Both Cameron Buford and Trevor Hatton completed their collegiate careers with a pair of home runs as Grambling State fell to number 22, Louisiana 12-5 in the Bryan College Station Regional at Bluebell Park on Saturday afternoon. Hatton went 2 for 4 with 2 ribbies, while Bufford was 1 for 4 with an RBI. Grambling scored 5 runs on 8 hits. And let's see here. Oh, my pages. Sorry, my pages got a little mixed up here. You gotta love technology.
That's why you got a number on, my brother.
I see, I do, but that's all right. Yeah, Grambling. The season ended a little earlier than we all would have liked. They came through and came out victorious in the SWAC tournament, but Louisiana sent them packing. I was at work, so I didn't get a chance to catch it like I wanted to. So what are your thoughts kind of on the game itself, and then just looking back on the season that Grambling had this year?
Well, first of all, I want you to think about that regional that they were in, Brandon. There's 64 teams that make the college baseball tournament.
Mm-hmm.
When you have 3 teams in your regional that are all within the top 25, something about that don't math up like it's supposed to. You're gonna have one ranked team because that's going to be the host. Top 16 teams typically wind up hosting. Yeah, you may have another ranked team, but when you get 3 of you're the only team in your regional not ranked in the top 25. Matter of fact, 22 and up. Yeah. So, and the fact that Grambling, you may not be a betting man, but I used to be. And of course, my partner on Sunday, Brian, is Grambling covered the spread in both games. That's a feat. They had Grambling predicted to lose by double digits in both of those games. So that was a feat, the fact that they covered the spread. Yeah, they got shut out in the first game, 8-0. The fact that they held their opponent to single digits and out hit their opponent. Grambling's problem was they just never could put hits together enough to score runs. Now, what hurt Grambling? Texas A&M decided for the first time all season that they wanted to have a running game, looking like the 1982 St. Louis Cardinals against Grambling, and they tested them and they passed the test. You would think a team like Grambling coming out of the SWAC, probably the most run in this league, and I know that didn't kind of roll off the tongue like it should have with proper English, but I mean, you had 4 teams in the top 10 in the nation in steals within that conference. So it wasn't like Grambling had not seen that type of style before. I just think that it caught them by surprise that this particular team was doing it, and they didn't have the game plan probably in place for that. What did not see? I didn't see a whole bunch of errors that you may expect. Did see a few more walks than I would have loved to have seen. A couple of HBPs hit by pitches that I wish I would not have seen. But overall, I was well pleased with Grambling's representation of the Southwestern Athletic Conference in this particular tournament. When you couple that with what Florida A&M did last year, going to the University of Florida and going back to Alabama State 2 years ago, who had a decent showing also, we are not that far away where we're gonna get somebody. One of these SWAC teams is going to win the SWAC tournament, go in and get somebody. It may be an elimination bracket before we get somebody, but that's where it starts. Can we get a game in an elimination bracket and not be the first one out? Then maybe can we get 2 and get back to that bracket championship? Once we start doing that, then hey, this league can kind of play. Maybe we'll see a second team in. Now, it may be another 10 years before we get to that point where we get a second team in. But I think we can get a team and get some games. And SWAC has gotten some games in the tournament before. We all remember that run Southern had a few years ago. Remember when Bethune was in the BIAC, the run that they had when they was in the BIAC and were knocking people off and came, I believe, within like one game of making it to the College World Series. Doing that run when they won those 15 BIAC titles in a row. So it can be done. We just need our universities to go ahead and put those resources to these teams so that they can compete when we get on the big stage.
Absolutely. And just like I said, because that I have become more acquainted with SWAC baseball over the past couple years, and it is some phenomenal baseball played in that league. And watching the tournament the last few years, it's been entertaining. It's been a lot of good baseball play. And, we talk about, closing the gap in football and basketball. But meanwhile, over here on the diamond, they're like you alluded to earlier, they're closing that gap rather quickly. And we're seeing it. And just like you said, we're going to catch somebody. It's not a matter of if, but it's a matter of when that's going to happen. And so, like I said, put in those extra resources. But again, it as I see it, shout out to the coaches and their staff, to the recruiting that they're doing to get higher and higher caliber players into these programs, and it's starting to translate on the field in terms of success that they have, and not only within the conference, but even more and more against some of the big boys here. So
yeah, I'll just be happy when we get to the point where we can do more with more instead of just scraping by and doing more with less like we have been for so many years.
And that's going to be good when that point finally comes. Because like I said, we know how to do a lot with a little. When we get a lot, that could be problems for everyone else. So with that being said, let's go ahead and hop into our first commercial break. And we'll be back in 2 and 2.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties through its programs Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and parenting education coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentjax.
The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Kever's voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KEAVERSVOICE.com. Kever's Voice, Kever's Voice, KeversVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him?
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
Welcome back to Dr. Phil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. I'm Brandon King here with AD Drew, and we were talking about baseball as we entered the break. And I kind of, rather than hop around, I kind of want to keep that going and talking about the Diamond here. As speaking of Grambling State, they were voted as the Black College Nines Large Division National Baseball Champions. It's presented by Guardian Baseball. And the top 10 final poll as of May 29th, top 10 was Grambling State at number 1, Jackson State second, third was Florida A&M, Bethune-Cookman at 4th, Alabama State 5th, Texas Southern at 6th, Prairie View coming in at the 7th spot, North Carolina A&T at 8, Miles at 9, and Jarvis Christian University at 10. So out of actually a great showing for a lot of SWAC schools there. But again, the accolades and the work that Grambling has done continues to show up as they were named to this honor by the Black College Nines. And I know we talked a little bit already about Grambling baseball, but kind of wanted to get your thoughts on this latest recognition once again for Grambling baseball.
Well, Grambling wound up where they deserve to be. You know, they won the sprint. You know, they had a very good marathon, i.e., the regular season, finished the second in the West. They were the only SWAC West team to pick up a win in the tournament, and they picked up 5 of them. And those 5 were the ones that they need, or was it 6? Well, whatever it was, that's what they needed to win the SWAC tournament. So once again, shout out to Grambling. The only problem that I have with that poll, I would have flip-flop PV and Texas Southern. Yeah, Texas Southern won the West and finished third. PV finished third, but I need to be delicate when I say this. Texas Southern went to Atlanta and laid an egg. No better way of putting it. They did. You know, the game against PV was a little competitive, but PV beat them when it counted in the tournament. And I can't remember what the season series was off the top of my head, but I know those 2 teams, those gaps that you were seeing on Texas Southern's schedule, where they only actually played 24 games.
Mm-hmm.
I know a couple of those were to Prairie View. So, and I do believe they split 2-2 on the season, but don't quote me on that. But yeah, Prairie View beat them when it counted. So I would have flip flopped those 2. That's the only thing that I have with that top 10 that you gave.
I can't really disagree with that. I guess, like I said, them winning the division, they probably carried a little more weight versus perhaps some of the head-to-head matchups. So once again, congratulations to Grambling baseball, and I have some things cooking. We saw what they're doing over there in terms of basketball, but it looks like that's also translating over to the Diamond as well. So again, there's a lot of great things that's happening in terms of HBCU baseball, and when that time rolls around, we will definitely be here to cover it once again when that time rolls back around.
Definitely. And you know, when the expansion happened with the 2 Florida teams coming into the SWAC, you know, everybody was talking about how excited it was going to be for football, how excited it was going to be for basketball. But on this show, and I remember this, we were all excited about what this meant for baseball.
I remember being in the chat room and seeing that.
Yeah, and think about it. The second year of expansion, you had one of the 2 expansion teams win the doggone title. So Florida A&M has been in the Final Four all 3 years that they have been in the SWAC. Bethune has been in the Final Four the last 2 years of it, knocking off some of the perennial blue bloods of the SWAC. So, this is, you know, this is the first time that you've seen a quote unquote blue blood, because you got 3 when it comes to baseball in the SWAC.
Yep.
Obviously, Southern, is the New York Yankees, and I've said this before. Southern is New York Yankees. They've got all the titles. It's in black and white if you don't believe me. Southern has like 20, 29, 25, 20 something ridiculous.
That's true.
Jackson State 16. The St. Louis Cardinals, number 2. And I equate Grambling to being the Brooklyn / Los Angeles Dodgers. Sitting there at number 3. Everybody else, 2 titles, 3 titles, 1 title, etc., etc., etc. Those are the 3 with double-digit titles. Those are your 3 blue bloods in the SWAC. So one of them decided they wanted to remind everybody else, the fresh blood, the new blood, whatever else, that this is still our conference.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong on this. Speaking of the expansion team, didn't Bethune and FAMU, was it in the finals or the semi that they met a couple years ago?
Last year, the two newbies.
I thought so.
The 2 newbies were in the finals.
I thought so, and like I said, that goes to those who's coming. They coming in, kicking down the doors. There was they didn't need an acclimation period to get ready. They came in ready to roll.
And when you talk about that, think about it. Bethune, that first year, was coming off a whole year where they had no athletics on the entire campus coming out of COVID.
True.
Everybody was laid off. All the coaches were laid off. So they had to build their program from scratch. And to get to the championship game in the second year, building it from scratch. Let's give Coach Jonathan Hernandez some credit. If anybody, JB Shoot won Coach of the Year that year, and I'm not gonna argue with a FAMU coach or player winning Coach of the Year or Player of the Year. But if anybody should have challenged him last year for Coach of the Year, it should have been Jonathan Hernandez. And if you would have taken that poll after the tournament, Jonathan Hernandez probably would have won it.
Yes, and listening to not only looking at what he's building, I'll say, and listening to him when he's been on the show or in other arenas. If there's not other programs sniffing around and kicking the tires already, there will be in very short order, because he's really building something down there in Daytona with that baseball program. But wanted to shift gears as we move into some of the outdoor sports. MEAC, outdoor track and field athletes set to compete at the NCAAs. 8 MEAC track and field athletes are set to compete at the 2024 NCAA National Track and Field Meets in Eugene, Oregon, from the 5th to the 8th of June, after achieving qualifying times during the NCAA East Regional. Howard leads the way with 7 athletes competing in the women's 4x100 meter relay, the women's the women's 400 meter, the men's 110 hurdles, and the men's 400 meter hurdles. Maryland Eastern Shore sends 1 representative to the national meet, and that athlete will be competing in the triple jump. All events will be streamed live on ESPN Plus, with live results available, available at ncaa.org. All event time listed are Pacific Standard Time. The Howard's women 4x1 team consists of Ayana Gray Williams, Mackenzie Robinson, Kaylee Collins, and Sherry Ann Norton. They qualified for nationals after a school record time of 44.26 seconds at the East Regional. The women's 4x1 semi is set for June 6th with an 8:48 p.m. start time. Their Bison teammate Simone Watkins will be competing in the women's 400 on Thursday, June the 6th at
That's
7
today.
p.m. That
would be
is
today. Yes.
Let's see. Samuel Bennett from Howard will partake in the men's 110 hurdle semifinals. That was yesterday on June the 5th at 5:32. And also competed that day was his teammate Noah Langford, and he ran in the men's 400-meter race. And the representative from Eastern Shore, why can I not see this? Malachi Aiken will be competing in the triple jump. And he got in with a personal best of 15.77 meters at the regionals. And that event will be held on Friday, June the 7th at 6:20 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You know, I look at track because I'm a former track athlete many moons ago. I was a distance runner, so but I and it's funny. My wife, she was a sprinter back in her day. So whenever we watch him meet, I'm like, look, the 1600. That's what everybody comes to see. We know that. Nobody comes to
Man.
She has the same reaction.
Wait, but says the former sprinter.
She be like, nobody don't come to watch y'all run. Y'all be out there for minutes. Ain't nobody got time for that. So we have a good laugh about that. But the thing about for me, track, we talk about with the other sports in terms of resources and how that can create a gap between what you can achieve. When I look at track, it's kind of the great equalizer because if you are fast at Langston, you are fast at LSU. Well, either you can get out there and run or you can't. And so I think that's when you see some of these schools from locations that you may not be familiar with because, I mean, fast is fast, no matter what's on the front of your jersey. And I'd love to see this.
While you are correct with fast is fast, but fast can be faster with the proper training, the proper equipment, and everything else. Especially if you're in field events. Do you have the proper weight room?
True.
With the weights that are not because with track you're not lifting like you do in football, trying to bulk up. You're toning up and you're targeting specific muscles when you are lifting in track. Do you have a proper facility to train on? Because you don't necessarily run to train on the track. Because anybody who knows, if you run on that rubber track day after day after day, you can kiss your shins goodbye.
Oh, for sure.
Famous shin splints. I had them many a time when I was running, and that's once you get those in the season, you might as well kiss your season goodbye because that is not something that you can recover from within the season. Speaking of recovery, do you have the proper hot tubs and cold chambers and cold tubs for the proper recovery and ultrasound machines and other things to help with the recovery? Do you have a coach who specializes in your particular area? You said you ran distance. What happens if your coach is a sprint coach and really doesn't know how to coach you up for distance, or vice versa? And what about people like me? I was a long jumper, and you talk about nobody comes to see y'all run the mile. Who you think over there looking at that doggone pit that might be on the side of the bleachers where you can see? The only people that's got it worse than we did as jumpers was the shot, the discus, the hammer, and all those type people. Heck, at least the high jump and the pole vault is there in the middle of the track. You can glance at them and see what's going on.
That is
But
true.
you know, for us jumpers and doggone those throwers, you know, don't nobody go see them or mamas or girlfriends. That's gonna take that walk all the way over there on that side of the tracks. So yeah, but Brandon, track really signifies the end of the athletic season because you know team sports are over with when baseball championship occurs.
Yep.
Now this is the last individual sport of the season, and you know it's a sad moment after that track meet. That's all I'm gonna say for sports fans. And if you're not into track and can't get up with it, then your season ended last week in Atlanta.
Pretty much. Pretty much. The eyes start to turn toward next season. Like I said, if you're not into that. Before we head into the break, and I wanted to send you talked about coaching and looking at Howard is obviously leading the way, and that goes to they've got a coach, Coach David Oliver there, who's a former Olympic medalist, and the program that he has put together and continues to put together. He's doing a phenomenal job there. I had the of talking with him, I don't know, probably a year and a half ago. And so he's really doing some great things with what he's able to do in terms of leading that program forward, and obviously his athletes said they're starting to make an impact on a national stage. So we'll be checking in to see how these young ladies and young men do in their events as they come up, and we definitely want to see them do well and have a good showing and representation. With that being said, we're going to head into our next break, and we will see you on the other side.
If you think all pads are exactly the same, think again. This is Always Ultra Thins reinvented with the Always Triple Protection System. This pad wicks gushes 90% faster, absorbs even more so you can feel dry, and locks odors in. Rethink your pad for up to 100% leak-free and odor-free comfort with the totally reinvented Always Ultra Thins. This is always like never before.
The Cavil Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cavil.
As technology continues to bring changes to the world of education, it's time we also reimagine teacher professional development. Gone are the days of one-size-fits-all learning that can only be accessed at a specific time and place. The Stride PD Center is an on-demand library of mobile-friendly courses that allow educators to learn anytime and anywhere. Our dynamic courses provide bite-sized learning and help educators advance their knowledge while also gaining professional development hours. The best professional development plans are those that include a level of flexibility and choice for educators. Whether you're a teacher, school, or district, visit us today to take charge of your learning.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
All right, welcome back. And we are gonna keep it rolling here with this particular story. This not a sporting story, HBCU marching band to perform at historic parade in Paris. The magnificent marching machine of Morgan State University will become the first HBCU marching band to perform at the annual D-Day Memorial Parade in Paris. This is huge for Morgan State University and for an HBCU. The band's director, Jordan Reed, told WBAL TV 11 in Baltimore. This is huge for Morgan State, one being that there are Morganites that served. There are Morganites that served after World War II that will be traveling with us and that are near and dear to us. Reed also talked about his family ties to WW2 as his grandfather served in the Army during the war. Said he entered Europe through Normandy, went to England, and that's where they trained. The significance of the D-Day Memorial Parade is not missed by the students in the band either. Drummer Kyra Scott told WBAL TV that my great-grandfather actually fought in World War II, as well as met my great-grandmother. That's important for me as well, and to honor everybody else in America. Head drum major Tori James spoke about the impact this trip to Paris will have on him. Going across the country, I never thought I would do that in my band career. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I'm glad I can be a part of it. The performance will also honor the United States of America as the Morgan State Magnificent Marching Machine is set to perform Stars and Stripes and Tribute to America. When we think of historic events that have shaped the 20th century and the decades thereafter, the courageous moments that took place on the beaches of Normandy, France, nearly 80 years ago are among them. The opportunity to have our students not only represent our university, but also our nation on such a grand world stage in recognition of such a monumental occasion is truly an honor, said David K. Wilson, Morgan State University president. Our thanks to the event organizers for their recognition of the talented student performers we have at Morgan and for providing them with this lifetime experience to touch history. The band is scheduled to leave for Paris today, actually, and they will stay through June the 12th. So, tremendous honor for the Morgan State band. And I think we've seen that in recent years with FAMU and the Louis Vuitton parade. And I want to say, was it Hampton? I believe they were. I want to say it was Italy. I saw it a while back, but they were over in Europe performing, and I forgot what the event was. But we're seeing more of this happen that our bands are getting globally recognized. Am I muted?
Yeah. No, that was me. I was muted. And and if you remember, 1987, Florida A&M performed in Paris for their what was that? Centennial, some type of centennial celebration in 1987. And the reason I remember that was right before I entered the highest of Seven Hills. First of all, I got, and I hope I get this right. Felicitations à Morgan State. That's congratulations to Morgan State in my broken French, as I haven't practiced French in over 20 years. But yeah, shout out to anytime a band or a student themselves, a group of students get to go abroad and represent an HBCU university. It's a life-changing, life-altering experience for them. You know, this is going to be the first time where some of these people probably never even thought about getting a passport before. Now, I got to go to Germany. I got to go to France. I got to go to England. I got to get all this stuff together for a passport. And as you know, once you get that passport, that's a document for life right there. You know, that's just like a driver. You just got to update the picture every so many years. So you know, not only do they get a chance to entertain, but it's also teaching them, a life lesson and preparing them for life, as their passport can take them many of places. So congratulations to Morgan State and those students. Baltimore, especially when you consider an inner city HBCU, and a lot of probably a lot of those people at Morgan State come from various inner cities: DC, Baltimore, Philly, New York, et cetera, and to get to go experience a place where I've always wanted to go. I guess that's why I took French and learned French, because that was always a place I want to go. So that's on my bucket list. So damn you 22-year-olds, y'all took my spot on the plane. I guess I should have learned to play a band instrument, that type of a band instrument, instead of a garage band type instrument like I did, playing the lead guitar.
Well, I'm trying to learn a little bit of French too. I've been firing up the Duolingo a little bit. I'm 12 days in. So look, I hadn't got to Felicitones yet. I ain't got that far yet. We still on boy and girl.
Je m'appelle.
Omelette du fromage. That's about all I know. And that, shout out to Dexter's Laboratory, because that's about as far as I got right now. So look, you'll have to we'll have to revisit this in 6 months and see how far I've gotten.
I guarantee you'll be further in 6 months than I have been in 26 years. How about that?
But man, like I said, it's gonna be such an eye-opening opportunity for those young people. Anytime you can travel out of the country, particularly, I mean, for whatever, but especially for something like that, it's going to be life-changing. I remember the first time I left the continental United States. It was back in 2006 it was a mission trip at the time, but you get to see how other people live, and you get to do other things, and it makes you, if it's not necessarily you're going to say like a westernized type country or whatever, it makes you appreciate what you have. And when you come back, you have a greater appreciation for home and things of that nature. I could tell some stories from my time over there, but that would be that would be a show in and of itself. So, but like I said, man, shout out to those young people, and just savor it, soak it all up, because it's going to be a truly life-altering and life-defining experience. So I think we've got one more break to take, so we'll take our last break.
Well, yeah, because I was gonna say, because I've got a story I wanted to get into. We can do it now. We can do it after the break.
Let's go ahead and take the break, and that way we can get into it uninterrupted.
All right.
We'll take our final break inside the HBCU Sports Lab, and we'll see you on the other side.
Itchy, squirmy, scratchy, family not getting clean? Get Charmin Ultra Strong.
Go get 'em.
It just cleans better. With a diamond weave texture, your family can use less while still getting clean.
Goodbye, itchy squirm.
Hello, cream bottom.
We all go. Why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
At Hampton Law, our primary goal is to provide non-traditional yet effective solutions and redefine the approach to client legal concerns. As your trusted legal advisor, we believe in sophisticated, personalized services that eliminate the confusion and complexity sometimes associated with legal matters. Our high standard for client care and concern, coupled with our extensive legal knowledge and skills, make Hampton Law a resource focused on the protection of the client's interest and overall goals. We value our clients and truly enjoy working with them. Visit thamptonlaw.com to conveniently schedule an appointment online. Tamika Hampton, Esquire, 1631 Rock Springs Road, Suite 336, Apopka, Florida. 407-494-1471. thamptonlaw.com.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him?
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
When it comes to professional learning, teachers deserve better. From the leader in online learning, Stride brings you the Stride Professional Development Center, an on-demand library of mobile-friendly courses that gives teachers choice and flexibility, allowing them to learn anytime and anywhere. Our dynamic courses provide bite-sized learning and help educators advance their knowledge while also gaining professional development hours. It's time you take charge of your learning. Visit us today to get started.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
We're back with episode 515. Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Brandon King, AD Drew. We're back from break. And AD, you said you had a story that you wanted to kind of dive into on the other side.
Yeah, I've got a couple of stories that I want to that I would love to dive into, and if you give me a second as I bring up this graphic here.
All right.
Waiting on it to upload. There we go. There it is, Brandon.
Yes, sir.
You know, everybody was wondering what was going to happen with the oops, my bad. Hey, it don't want to act right, so I'll just take it down. But everybody was wondering what was going to happen with the Celebration Bowl as far as the date goes. With the Celebration Bowl. So now we know it will be moved up to December 14th. That Saturday, which means once again the Celebration Bowl will open the college bowl season, will be the first bowl of the bowl season. With the college football playoff beginning the following week, the week of the 21st. That's a big NFL weekend. That's when NFL starts playing on Saturday.
Yes,
Great
sir.
move there by John Grant and the people of the Cricket Celebration Bowl to decide to move their event up a week. And to my knowledge, there is only one other college football game that they will be competing against at that point in time, and that will be the Army-Navy game. And if you know anything about the Army-Navy game, that game normally comes on mid-afternoon on that particular Saturday. So the Cricket Celebration Bowl should be solo in its time slot when it comes to football, especially college football.
And I think for the Celebration Bowl to kind of have the national stage to itself for that particular day, I think that's awesome. So that's a good move to kind of allow that game to shine on its own, where you don't have to worry about excuse me, people flipping back and forth and trying to to split eyeballs and things of that nature. And by moving it to that time slot in that day, you kind of have the lay of the land to yourself, so to speak.
Yeah. Now, what are some of the downfalls of this date, moving it up to December 14th? Well, first of all, instead of having 2 weeks between the SWAC championship game and the Celebration Bowl, that has been cut in half down to 1 week. So not necessarily for the players. I don't think it's going to affect the players or the coaching, because those coaches are already have 2 game plans going for. If you're in the SWAC, same thing. If you're in the MEAC, they're already planning for the 2 opponents that are going to be in the SWAC championship game. It cuts down on that for everybody not named Southern, Grambling State, or Alabama State. Everybody else already has a bye the week going into the SWAC championship game.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Then, under the old format, so you would play bye week, championship game, bye week, Celebration Bowl. Maybe that was one of the factors in why the MEAC was dominating, because they couldn't get a rhythm. But then again, the MEAC had 4 weeks off. Now the MEAC only has 3 weeks off. So, that's one thing. And the other thing is it pushes us further away from Christmas. So that, if they would have played this the 21st, which is that following Saturday, when the traditional Saturday, because it's always been the 3rd Saturday in December. Hell, if that's 21st, 4 days later is Christmas.
Yep.
You might have had some fans who would have had some second thoughts about traveling, because I got to buy Johnny Christmas gifts. Got to make sure he's got those Christmas gifts 2 days later. And moving it to after Christmas, given the dynamics of our university, just did not make sense, because who's going to keep those kids around? Who's going to feed them, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, I think it's going to be a win-win for everybody. And like G Boom said, he thinks this is going to happen again in 2025 because of the quirk in the calendar, where there's an extra Saturday in the calendar in 24 and 25. So this would probably happen again in 2025 before they put back to the 3rd Saturday, where you've got a full Saturday before you get to Christmas, not where it's butting up against Christmas.
Yes, sir. You laid it out, and I really agree with everything that you laid out. Because, like I said, moving, you don't have to compete really with any other games, and now you're not competing with Christmas and all of those things that go along with it. So you can have a fan base that's going to be paying attention to that game, that's not worried about, like I said, getting little Billy the PlayStation or the Kobe's or the Jordans or whatever it is that's going to be the hot item come this season, and they can just come out and see some good football that's going to be played.
Yeah, and also G Boom brought up a point. I thought I mentioned it, but I'll go over it again. That weekend, that 3rd weekend, is the opening round on campus sites for the new FBS playoff schedule. So once again, you would have been competing for eyeballs. You would have been competing for fans had they kept it on that third Saturday.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and implore everybody to either attend or watch the game, so we can so the Celebration Bowl can put up some massive numbers. Definitely, if you're able to, go check it out. But if not, definitely tune in. I can promise you won't be disappointed. I've had my wife watching it the past couple years, and she has been into it. So,
well, I would hope that she would be into it, man. So I would hope that she would. And the last story I want to get.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead on this, because the last story pivots totally away from the Celebration Bowl.
Oh no, I was just gonna say. I think one year we was riding back up here to Tennessee, so I had it mounted in the car. You know, you can't watch the game and drive, so she was like the third play-by-play because she got to tell me what's going on, so I can drive and not start watching the game. So, um, yeah, I'm gonna have her watching the 2024 and the 2025 version. She's gonna be right there with me.
There you go. There you go. Uh, check the check the private chat, Brandon, while I go over this
Okay.
next story. Let's send you a message. The next one, these two stories kind of come in together. You know, we already saw what the NCAA has done with the NIL settlement, and now there is we've seen the logos on the NBA uniforms, the WNBA
Mm-hmm.
uniforms, and other places. Now, NCAA is going to let us start putting those brand placements on the uniforms of our student athletes. And I've got a lot of questions about that. And I'll read this article from, where does this come from? On3.com, on3nil.com. The NCAA has approved a policy change to allow schools to place corporate logos in the middle of their football fields, a developer in direct response to the need to find new revenue streams in the aftermath of House versus NCAA settlement. Okay, this is just on the football fields right now, but they're supposed to be passing legislation to allow them to be put on the uniforms also.
Yes.
So right now they've approved it on the football fields. So you got any thoughts on that?
I have I have somewhat mixed feelings about it because I can't really say I'm totally surprised because they're looking for new ways to monetize collegiate athletics. You've already we've seen it, of course, with Nate. Can't get it out. Stadium naming rights and things of that nature, and so in some ways, I think it's almost like a natural progression. Not necessarily it's right or wrong, but it's just kind of the direction that it's headed. What I'm worried about is a couple things. One, will we get to a point where these jerseys will look like Euro League, like the Turkish Euro League jerseys, or some of these, or they'll be out there looking like NASCAR jackets with just sponsors plastered all over the place. And then when they do an interview, instead of they got to say, well, here the Nabisco uh, Chevrolet uh, Oregon Ducks here. We just wanted to come out and play good football. Want to say thanks to Wilson for providing the footballs, and will they start to sound like that? But then bringing it back to an HBCU level, will this be? I'm concerned that this is going to be a way where we might get left out in the cold because some of the big sponsorships will obviously go to the big boys, and will we be left either with the crumbs or out in the cold? So I have some trepidation about this as it relates to how this is going to potentially affect HBCUs. Uh, so that's kind of where I am on that.
Yeah. And I'll use a non-HBCU to kind of make my point. UAB in Birmingham, University of Alabama at Birmingham, they play at a place called Progressive Field.
Mm-hmm.
So at Progressive Field, will we see, since I'm looking at it, will we see cricket on the field, the cricket logo on the field at Progressive Field? So will it be the University of Alabama Birmingham Blazers on the cricket field at Progressive Stadium? I'm just throwing something out there. Is it
Yeah.
going to be like that? So it's going to be fun and interesting getting into these names, and then once it gets to the point when you can bring them into start putting them on uniforms and everything else, then it's really going to be interesting. What we're going to do right now, Brandon, supposed to have been our third wheel for the day is here, but I guess I'm on Eastern time. I don't know what time zone you on, Brandon, and John just put it in the chat that he's on Central time. So sometimes we get these things confused when we do these things across multiple time zones.
That is true. It is true.
Brother John, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you guys. My apologies, man. I'm all twisted with the time here, but more importantly, it's such a day today. So, sometimes things can kind of get crosswire, but I truly apologize, man. Uncharacteristic.
That's all right.
Appreciate you guys having me.
That's all right. We were in our closing segment, but I know I saw you was on for that final segment. Did you have any comments that you wanted to make on that topic? Because I know you, like I said, I saw you there, so I know you heard what we were talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an interesting take from the standpoint that the name, image, and likeness basically just kind of opened the door for a lot of exploratory commercializing of your program and opportunity to kind of infuse some extra dollars into your program. Obviously, they're going to pretty much pursue probably your larger schools because the numbers are there. But I think there's a history and a cornerstone of excitement and talents at many of your HBCUs. But I think if you drive the vehicle the right way, I think you could potentially benefit in the long run. It does be a pretty interesting look when you look at the NBA and all the different logos and so forth that are on the jerseys, and now they've opened the door for that to happen in the collegiate ranks. But I think there's opportunity there. It's just all about how the different schools move into that space of being able to kind of take full advantage of it.
Well, I'm going to ask the question. I'm going to put it out there. And once again, y'all know I'm the one who always has that take. Will we be able to get into that space? Will we be the ones who have nothing on our field? Because, all of the Fortune 500 are going to go to the Power 5 conferences. Let's be real. Are we going to be the people who are sponsored by, I'll just use Texas Southern or something like that with Frenchie's Chicken or something along those lines. I'm just throwing it out there. Is that what we're going to get? Will we get the local franchise, something a little bit better than a mom and pop, but the local franchise for our university, or the regional entity to sponsor our teams? And then what are we going to sell this for? We know we can't get the 10-year, $30 million deal that you're going to get if you're a Florida State or University of Alabama. So what are we going to get out of this? And then my last piece is, with all this coming because of NIL, is this going to be like when the NBA and the NFL first started with sweet sales, where the owners kept the money instead of distributed it back to the players? Because that didn't used to go into player revenue and into the salary cap. So will this money stay with the universities and you know where it's going to go? It's going into general fund, that big old hole where all this money goes into general fund. Or will this be something where our student athletes can come and get that money back as part of a NIL type deal? And I'm just talking about the logos on the field, because there's a whole separate issue when you're talking about putting a logo on the chest, such as what you have on right now, Brandon, with the logo on your chest. Does the student athlete get paid? And when I say paid, NIL money for wearing that on their person?
Now that's an interesting question. Mr. Hill might be a little more equipped to answer that than I, as he's on the administrative side of athletics, and he's involved in those conversations. Mr. Hill, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I can't say for sure that we would definitely get our equitable share of the dollars that are out there, but I do believe that, you got to be in the game in order to win. I think some would be able to benefit a little more than others. I think it has a lot to do too with just the kind of the city or the region that you're in, and what the demographic makeup of your city. Because in some cities, there's a lot more companies, and not only just corporation, but small businesses that you might be able to tap into. In other cases, depending upon the location of your school, you may not have as many sources to be able to tap into. But I think the bigger, I think the bigger equation here is they're looking at, like, it's almost like advertisement. If you're advertising whatever, just say you advertising, as you just used the example earlier, cricket. Putting cricket on the field. Well, if I do a cricket advertisement at my game, what is the attraction in terms of what is the kickback? I mean, would that entail more customers for them? Because viewership is everything. If you have an audience and there's a level of viewership there, then there's a possibility that particular company can see where they can benefit from basically advertising and pouring dollars into your market. So it just varies in terms of where the school is, and it varies also in terms of the product that you put on the field or the court. So, I just think those variables make a huge, huge difference. But across the board, it may not be a level of equitable share there for everybody. And I don't know if there's an equation where you can assure that everybody gets the equitable share. However, there is now a platform for you to go out and try to market for your share of that market, whatever that may be. But it's better to be in a situation where you have the liberty and some freedom to go in and try to market your programs versus being in a market where that opportunity is not there. So it's a juggernaut, and I don't think all of it has been really sorted through and thought through very thoroughly, because, I mean, the demographics of intercollegiate sport still pretty much what it is driven around the numbers. And if you can create and generate some numbers in terms of viewership and visibility of people seeing a company's product, then I can see them actually pouring into it. The other thing too is that you put a really good product on the field of court. I think it may be something that people want to come out and see and view, and it was draw the attendance, viewership, and you'll be able to possibly able to sell that, because everything now is basically sold on viewership. Before they even got into putting logos and so forth, jerseys and fields and naming rights, naming rights is a different plateau of marketing. But at the level that we're talking about, and they're introducing it now to intercollegiate sports abroad, I just think that, it's just going to depend on the market. And that's not I don't think that's a fair share answer, but I just think it just varies in terms of location. It varies in terms of the product that you put on the field of court, and it varies in terms of, what type of teams are you building, year in and year out. People want to be a part of things that they can relate as winners and something they want to associate with it. Look at advertisement today, and you look at how I think of a situation where you had where Cam Newton was in a situation and he was marketing, and he had a situation with a reporter, and he was highly misunderstood. They end up dropping him as a sponsor, and then they end up signing Dak Prescott after him. However, companies are pretty much grasping after people who have an identity and a personality that relates to their product. And with that being said, you have to put a product that people want to associate themselves with to try to get your fair share of that market. But is there a definitive equation on how to make sure that everybody gets an equitable share? I really don't think so. I really don't. I don't think it's a market of such, but it's in a market for you to explore that's never been able to be explored previously. So that goes across the board in a lot of areas. You look at student athletes now. a lot of signing at schools where they can pretty much get in on the NIL, name, likeness, and image sponsorships, and they may get a 2-year deal. And just say, for instance, after those 2 years, coaches are continuing to recruit. So if they recruit a kid that they think that's a little bit better, that kid who just spent those 2 years receiving that NIL, and now you're noticing that a lot of those kids are jumping schools to another, going back into the portal, going to another school, and now trying to get another 2 years with another school. It's not that they're unhappy at that school, but it's just about marketability and the dollars and where they can get them from. So that's a little bit off scale and topic a little bit, but there are some similarities.
Well, no,
all I'll say is this: I know a Howard or a Texas Southern or even a Morehouse will have a better opportunity to succeed in this type of space than a Grambling or Alcorn or Tuskegee or other smaller rural type schools. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Brandon.
No, I was just going to say, definitely appreciate the insight on that. And for those of you who don't know, this is John Hill is the AD at Wilberforce University, and so obviously he comes with a particular type of insight on this particular topic. So it's actually, you came in actually right on time to kind of give us, kind of a fly on the wall look, if you will, in terms of how those things are looked at. And I guess for you being in your position, when are you having these conversations with your staff? At your meetings, are you also talking about the changing landscape with even your coaches as well? Is looking at some of the obstacles that all HBCUs have, but even more so smaller ones. What are those conversations kind of look like from a institution of your size?
Well, I think you have to leave all options on the table. Obviously, being, a small university, the numbers are not what they are at many of your larger, even many of your larger, HBCUs. But I think the main thing is that it just opens Pandora's box in terms of just being able to be very explorative and be very innovative in how you can push the envelope at your particular university. I think the biggest thing that I mentioned before was that everything has to do with market. And I think when you mentioned like your Grambling and your Alcorns, some of these markets, the corporate sponsorships and some of the opportunities are not there, and people in many cases want to be close to where they feel like they can market and sell their product. A lot of schools now are using streaming, different streaming services to promote their programs. And what that does is, because you don't have the dollars to reach the scope of people that you really want to, if you use that streaming service the right way and running commercials and being able to parlay those commercials into resource dollars for your program, if you can once you get a platform for that and you run commercials, and you can then begin to parlay that into getting additional sponsors, knowing that pretty much that you've shown an example of, hey, this is our viewership, and this product we have, this is the attention, this is the attraction that we're getting in our communities. And a lot of these streaming services, and you have various ones that are out there. Some people do YouTube, some people are doing HBCU Go, some people are doing HBCU Plus, but it's how you market and use the platform, because they have the ability to be able to market your school in any area. We are in Ohio, but if we were one of those marketing services, they can market because they're giving you channels now. You can basically market a admissions commercial or athletic commercial or any commercial that you feel is of worthiness at your university. You can market it in any market that you want to. We may be in Ohio, but we may be able to have them to market something maybe in Nashville, Tennessee, or maybe in various parts of Alabama, where we feel like we have a strong segment or a strong base of alumni in that particular area. So, there are no definitive answers. I just think that you have to be very innovative and open to looking at how do you explore options with the resources that you have to try to make sure that you market your program, because in truthfulness, the best advertisement is word of mouth. You want to get your product out in front of people, and you want people to see it so they'll share it with others. But one of the main things that are happening right now is just that I just think that the streaming deal helps a lot, because now when you got that logo on your jersey or on your field, you can go back and renegotiate and say, hey, we had X amount of viewerships. I think that really kind of bargain to get more out of the situation, and more importantly, we can parlay that and show the data. Hey, we can use this is what we were able to produce. These are the viewerships, and you'll be able to get other sponsors to kind of get involved. It's a juggernaut, man. It really is. But I do think the streaming services is something that you can really lean upon to try to push. And a lot of schools are doing it. At one time, everybody was going with the streaming service where they would make you pay for your games. And some schools are still doing that. But now you have these streaming services where you can do so many other things, where people don't have to come to your university, and you can still have a tremendous amount of impact and outreach to people that typically wouldn't have probably come to the campus, or probably wouldn't have watched a game, or wouldn't even have watched the program. So it's different. It's very different in how you have to approach it. I think it's a slow process, because it's definitely something that you have to be very diligent at, and you have to have it aligned the same way. I look at my situation, in particular at Wilberforce. We are, I'm trying to revamp the whole platform in terms of how we promote sponsors, get sponsors, and use our scoreboard, and use our flashboard on the wall, and use the streaming service, and try to make sure that I use that channel in a way that where I can get as much outreach as possible. So there are no definitive answers, but I think you can do something, and it's going to be somewhat of a process, because you have to prove to have a legitimate program, and something that people want to see. People watch when you have a product that they're very interested in, and it doesn't matter what the school is. If they feel like you have something special going on, and it's something that they're very interested in, they'll tune into it. And while once you've captured that audience, then you have to be very diligent in how you go about strategically probing to increase it, and to be able to parlay it into additional sponsorships.
I've got my opinions about charging for streaming, but that's a whole nother
Can you guys hear me?
podcast, Brandon and John. Because I've seen it fail more times than it succeeded. But anyway.
No, I completely understand on that one. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Nah, I didn't say that.
Okay. I guess one question that I did have for John, because I know, looking at you all down there at Wilberforce, you have over the past you've added a couple of sports to your repertoire. Now, I guess one question that I've always had when I've talked with certain ADs when they add this, what does that process? I know I'm kind of shifting gears, but this is a question I've had. What does that process
Okay.
look like from when you decide, in your meetings to conceptualize? All right, we're going to. I'm just throwing it out. We're going to offer, say, for instance, lacrosse or something. What does that process
Okay.
look like from that point till the point where we're actually fielding a team on the field or on the pitch or on the court?
Well, I think it begins with, like in our case right now, we're starting 2 new programs. We're starting volleyball. This will be our first year going into volleyball, and we also are having women's soccer. But prior to making the decision that we wanted to make sure that we brought these 2 sports on, I think there are a couple of thoughts there. One, do we have a market for it? In Ohio, we had to really look at the demographics to see whether or not is there a fertile recruiting base for getting multiple students to participate. Also offering another sponsor program on our campus that has a level of interest. But I think all matters when you start really researching it.
And
okay, he's back.
We lost you there for a second, John.
I think you might be.
You might be getting a call. No, I think he's probably getting a call. That usually happens when you get a call in the middle of StreamYard.
Yep,
You're
I think
muted, John. John, you're muted.
I think he can hear us.
He can't hear us.
Oh no. Oh, you just
I just left him a message. Let me see. Let me try something.
you know, technology, it's a beautiful thing until it malfunctions.
Exactly. John, I don't know if you can hear us right now. Hey, Brandon, I think we need to go into some overtime and actually have him answer that question.
Okay.
So what we're gonna do right now, we're in overtime, y'all. Let's take a quick break. Let's see if we can get John's audio issue fixed. You can shoot him a text right quick, or shoot him a text right quick, Brandon.
Okay.
And we're gonna go take a commercial break while we try to get this figured out. We're in overtime right here on Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Brandon King, AD Drew, and John here. We'll be right back.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties through its programs Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and parenting education coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Kever's voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KeaversVoice.com. Kever's Voice, Kever's Voice, KeversVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him.
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want a law, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
All right, and we are back in overtime inside the HBCU Sports Lab. We've got we had a little bit of technical issues there, John. Can you hear us now?
Can you hear us, John?
I think it's still.
John, we cannot hear you. If you can hear us, can you log out, John, and log right back in? I think that will fix the technical issue. Appreciate it. Log out, log right back in. I'll let you right back in. While he does that, Brandon, if you would, can you remind everybody what your question was before we went to break?
Yes. When John comes back, I asked him because they have added 2 new sports this past year, and so my question was to him at that level: what does that process look like when you're instituting a new sport from the time you conceptualize or do your research or whatever the case may be to actually fielding the team on the court? So when John comes back, he's going to give us some insight into that process. We'll have him back
And
here shortly.
yeah, and he's almost back in. And I do have a follow up to that if John does not give an answer during his saying, guy. But I do have an appropriate follow up. All right, John, can you hear us now?
Yes. I didn't know
Okay,
you guys could
and
hear
we
me.
and we and we can hear you now. So yeah, technology is a beast sometimes. Brandon already restated the question to the audience, but we heard none of your answer the first time that you gave it. So I hope you remember what you said and can deliver it as good or a little bit even better.
Brief me on the question just a little bit. I think you were asking me about, in the process
Bringing a
or
new sport
the
online.
stages of phase of bringing a new sport.
Yeah.
And I was sharing that,
Yes.
here at Wilberforce, we're starting 2 new sports. We're starting volleyball, women's volleyball, and women's soccer. And I think, in thinking about it from an administrative standpoint, we basically wanted to do a little research just to see whether or not we felt like it was a good fit and it's something that would enhance Wilberforce University. And in doing so, I think the biggest thing was just one, making sure that there was fertile ground that, that we felt like that we could field good teams because of the area and location where we are. But everything is to build into the university strategical plan, which is basically to try to increase our enrollment and to do a phenomenal job of retention. But we feel like Ohio is a good area to where we can recruit solid and very, very sound student athletes to participate in volleyball and women's soccer. So from that standpoint, we felt very, very good about it. I think the other thing was went into the thought process was just adding an additional sponsored sport to where it gives another option for our student athletes who are presently already attending Wilberforce University. So with that being said, that's also to build into the culture of the campus and the campus community, to just give them another option of enjoyment that we can offer at the university. So, and I think the last thing was that, we want to make sure that we do everything we can. Majority of all of our decisions are built around just increasing, really, really enhancing our enrollment. And we recently just joined the Gulf Coast Athletic Conference. And we want to try to make sure that we work ourselves into the platform. Yep, soon to be HBCU Athletic Conference as of July 1. And so we wanted to join. Instead of being independent, we felt like it was just, it was just a great, smart move to become part of a conference, because it guarantees you so many home games and you're not freelancing trying to find games all over the country. When people know you're independent, they feel like they kind of got you over the barrel. You got to come to them, but they don't have to come to you. And then you're stuck in a situation where you've added a sport, but at the same time, you're not building a culture on your campus. So joining the conference also played a part into that as well. But I think overwhelmingly, with all of those elements in place, the biggest thing was just building into the university strategical plan of just increasing enrollment and recruiting, students with an academic history of excellence. So that way we can make sure that we can retain them and we can continue to build towards what is our ultimate goal. And that's just kind of building athletic programs that can thrive, where you get good quality student athletes to compete at a high level with the potential to be able to compete on the national level. But more importantly, then after that, you got to find some solid coaches. But coaches are not hard to find. You put an application out there, you'll get about 30 to 50 people that'll apply for it. It's just about finding people that feel a good fit for your school, So finding a coach is never hard because people are always looking for work. But finding young people that are a good fit for your university. And but I think that was our thought process in going in it. And I think so far it has been really, really great. Our enrollment, I can tell that we've gotten a bump and our enrollment from some of the young people that we've been able to attract and recruit. And it is just be interesting now to see how soon we can put really a quality program on these playing surfaces.
All right, I've got a follow up to that. My question to you, John, is how much did Title IX play into the decision? Because you added not one but two women's sports to your array of sports that you guys have there at Wilberforce. So how much did Title IX play into that decision?
Well, in most cases around the country, that's always a big decision, because particularly when you have a football program, your numbers are typically upside down. So, we don't have football. We don't sponsor football as a sport right now. So that really wasn't our challenge as much. Men's and women's basketball, everything is pretty level. Baseball. So we didn't really have a lopsidedness or uneven or unbalancedness with our male to female ratio with student athletes. I think it was just about building into our strategical plan of just trying to, enhance our enrollment, find good quality student athletes with an academic history of excellence, so that we can do a great job of retention. But that really didn't play into our decision. I think we just want to be able to find good students that, and one, find good students, and two, be able to offer an additional sponsor sport for our students that are on campus and have an interest in these sports, but the sport just wasn't available. And third, I just think, joining a conference and trying to make sure that we meet the platform so that we can basically compete for championships in all of those sports.
All right, and I do have one last question that I want to get us out of here on. Now, you did mention that you guys just joined the GCAC, soon to be in HBCU AC. HBCU AC. I still got to get used to saying that.
Yeah,
but
it's a tongue twister, and it's going to take some time to get used to, for sure. I've worked at a multitude of HBCUs.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you say BCU, it just seems like you're talking about all of them at large. But I guess there was some strategical, a real strategical, thought process with that. But it's HBCU. It's the new conference is going to be called HBCU Athletic Conference. So quite a long acronym. I'm sorry,
yeah, and
but
that
yeah,
actually kind of. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. No, I was just going to say it's on you.
No, we got a little bit of delay, so we talking over each other. So.
No, I was just saying that basically that somewhat of a tongue twister there in terms of being able to, and it's going to take some growing on people. But yeah, we're doing a rebranding as of July 1, where HBCU Athletic Conference is going to be a makeup of it will be the first HBCU NAIA conference, where you're talking is Wiley College, Fisk University, Philander Smith, Wilberforce, Voorhees College, Stillman, Dillard University, Southern University of New Orleans. Who else we got? I don't want to leave nobody. Oakwood University.
Rust. You left Rust out.
But yeah, it's going to Rust. Yep, we got Rust College. So to be the first HBCU athletic conference, and like I said, it's going to take some time to grow on people, but it's unique in its own, in its own right, because it will be the first time that you have a conference that's the makeup of it is of HBCU. So we're excited about it, and looking forward to a lot of spirited competition.
Now, here's my follow up. There are many of conferences that you guys could have joined with, and let's be honest, with a lot less travel. You're talking about going to Voorhees in South Carolina. You're talking about going to Wiley down in Texas. You're talking about going to Suno, and you got the Mid State Conference is right there where you guys are at geographically. I'm trying to think of some other NAIA conferences that are in that geographic region. River States is right there where you guys are at. Mid South is right there. Crossroads is in that area. So outside of the identity of being in the HBCU conference, what other factors went into going to then the GCAC, now the HBCU AC?
Well, I think that you know, and that's a good point because the travel is somewhat enormous. But you see that going on quite a bit in a lot of conferences nowadays because they're adding schools that are somewhat out of the circumference of many of the schools that they compete against. Teams add teams for just different reasons. It could be football. You know, in many cases, people are just trying to build powerhouse conferences. However, in our circumstance, we have been independent for some time, and we participated in the Mid-South for a period of time. I think it was only 1 year, but I think the main thing for us was just finding a conference that was a good fit for us. And you know, I'm a big component of building, you know, building a culture on your campus to where young people, because college is all about, man, you may never remember how many points you scored or how many goldies you scored, but you're going to remember the people that you went to school with and the good times that you had. And that's kind of the, you know, the basis of HBCU. There's a culture there that you'll come back for homecoming. You know, it builds a whole different level of excitement and memories. And I just think that our young people, for where we are, it was a better fit for us to be part of the GCAC because there's a lot of similarities amongst the schools. Many of these schools are anywhere from 600 to 1,200 students. And those are not big schools. But at the same time, there has to be a place for everybody to fit and to feel comfortable and to feel that you're competing on a platform where the schools that you're competing with, from a budgetary standpoint, y'all have some similarities. You know, from a cultural standpoint, y'all have some similarities. And just from a standpoint of just building into how you can give your student athletes and your student body the best experience and cultural opportunity while they're, you know, on their journey to earn their degrees.
All right.
That's tremendous. Well, John, I know we had some technical difficulties, but nonetheless, I definitely appreciate you spending a few moments with us and kind of giving us some insights on NIL, adding sports, and the general picture of how that looks. So definitely appreciate you spending some time with us, and we'll definitely be keeping our eye as the GCAC morphs into the HBCUAC, and definitely tracking how you all do as your athletic program continues to move forward.
Well, I definitely appreciate you guys having me. My apologies once again for being a bit off with the time. But should you invite me back again, I'll make sure I'm on time. How about
Most definitely. Most definitely.
John, I'll tell you this on behalf of the Black College Sports Network. Anything that you want to get out as far as things that are happening with your institution, please reach out to us. That's one thing that we do. Everybody's gonna know what's going on in the SWAC. Everybody knows what's going on in the MEAC, but we also like to make sure that we give more than our fair share of attention to the smaller schools. And Dr. Kiki Baker Barnes will tell you, we were covering the GCAC when no one else was covering the GCAC here at the Black College Sports Network. And we will be covering the HBCUAC when no one else will be covering the HBCUAC, in addition to covering all the big boys, MEAC, SWAC, SIAC, and CIAA. I think he got one of those phone calls again.
I think he did.
Yeah, it happens when you get a phone call when you on this platform. Let's pick up the show and get out of here, Brandon.
Yes, sir. And first of all, let me go ahead and say thank you for spending a few moments with us. I know we did have some technical difficulties. Nonetheless, thank you all for sticking with us. Thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure to share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. Once again, I am not Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, but I am Brandon King, and this is 80 Drew. With So we hope that you enjoyed. We hope you enjoyed the conversation we had with John Hill, athletic director from Wilberforce University. And again, we would like to thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab every Tuesday and Thursday, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. And as we always like to end every show, I guess I'll start it off because last time I had an audio, I didn't get to do it. Course.
Lecture.
I guess it's back to me. Dismiss.
Drop a light, everybody. If I can find the outro. There we go.